The World Economic Forum is not crazy when they say that you will be happy by owning nothing. And I can tell you this because I've been driving Uber here in the city of Pittsburgh for the past 5 years, and I've taken over 14,000 rides. And if one thing's become incredibly clear, it's that more and more people are becoming incredibly happy at the prospect of them not owning a vehicle, even in a city where you need to own a vehicle, right? The city of Bridges, you need a car to get around, especially with the fact that we don't have a great public transit system. But nonetheless, people here in Pittsburgh actively love not owning a car. Now, this may seem strange because here in America, you and I have been taught that consumption is good. It's good to consume things. It makes you a good person. You need to buy things in order to signal to other people who you are. Right? If I buy a pair of Fear 3 Jordan sneakers, that shows people that I like basketball, that I like Michael Jordan, that I'm into streetwear, that I'm into perhaps rap culture, because those things are somewhat linked. In fact, they're very heavily linked. I have to signal to other people who I am by buying things. Now, our consumption isn't going down, it's just changing. And buying cars isn't in the equation anymore. Buying homes isn't in the equation anymore. A great example of consumption that is not going to be moving forward into the future are all of the knickknacks that the baby boomers have collected. The baby boomers loved buying physical things that they could put around their homes, put around their apartments, that they could fill up their space with. My mom's a great example of this. She has a big china cabinet with a bunch of antiques, and they're very beautiful. They're gorgeous, in fact. I think they're great works of craftsmanship, but I don't want anything to do with them. I could care less about them. Now, I respect my mom for having her taste and liking what she likes, but I would never buy them because I don't see the need to have such clutter. And more people my age, I'm 26 for reference, are feeling this way. And Gen Alpha coming behind me is only going to feel this way more because everything's becoming digital. Why would I buy something in the physical world when I can buy something in the digital world? Especially when the digital world is so much quicker. It's more rapid. Bing, 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 bing. I can buy, sell. I can transact here. I can transact there. I can go here, do this, do that. Why focus on the physical world when the digital world is so much more prevalent? Now, this is happening for two reasons. First and foremost, digital economies are growing. And if you're young, you want to be on the cutting edge. You've been trained with it. You've grown up your whole life with it. It's all you know. I was born in that brief window where technology was beginning to take over, but we still played in the backyard. I still played wiffle ball. I still played lava. We still played home run derby. But I also had the Nintendo GameCube. So I was in that brief window. But the kids coming behind me, it's all tech. It's all digital. It's all screens. All of the kids that I drive in Pittsburgh, especially from single mothers and single fathers, they sit on their phones. They sit on the tablet. They scroll, they swipe, they play their games, they watch videos. It's digital. And when they grow up, they're not going to want anything to do with cars. They're not going to want anything to do with homes. They're not going to want anything to do with these physical items. They're going to focus on the digital. And in fact, GTA 6 is going to be probably the last version we see in this makeup, because it's going to become immersive the next time they make one in 6, 8, 10 years, whatever it is. The next GTA-like game is going to be immersive. It's going to be Ready Player One. That's where we're going. We're going there because that's where the new generation wants to go. Not because they had a choice, but it's because that's what they've been programmed with. They're going to consume, but they're going to consume different things. They will have collectibles, but those collectibles are going to be different too. I remember Madden 12. You had the numbered cards, the numbered offensive lineman, the numbered Chad Ochocinco. That was a great card. Loved it. You had the numbered Allen Hutchinson. You had the numbered everything. You had the playoff cards, playoff Al Harris, playoff Santonio Holmes. We loved collecting those. We loved buying and selling. That's what the marketplace is going to look like for my generation, but also the generation coming behind me and then the generation behind them, assuming they have any kids at all. Who knows? Maybe they won't be able to. Maybe they'll forget. Distinct possibility, more than 0%. But that's where it's going. People don't want to own things, and they're going to be perfectly happy with not owning things because In my opinion, owning things is kind of burdensome. Why own all of this stuff? It's just clutter. Now, of course, if you know where it comes from, if you know who made it, if you understand the toil and the sweat and the labor that went into crafting such a pot or such a pan or such a sculpture or carving, that makes more sense because you have a connection there. It's an object that's alive. It has an animated spirit. But when you don't know, and in our day and age, we don't know where it comes from, it just says made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Mexico, made in XYZ country. We have no clue what's going on there. And there certainly wasn't craftsmanship going on, right? It was sweat labor in a sweatshop through oppressive conditions. And that doesn't make me feel good buying it. I buy it because it's a necessity and it's the only thing I know how to buy because I don't have a local craftsman here in my area. Not one that I can find, at least. They probably exist, but they're difficult to find. It's what I know how to buy. So I don't feel particularly good about buying it. If I knew who was making it, I probably would. And that is going to be an economy moving forward. In the physical realm, the only things that people are going to want to buy are going to be things that they know where they came from. Things that are environmentally friendly, perhaps. Things that are made with a human touch, where there's a connection between buyer and seller. Maybe they have a relationship. Maybe their kids play with that person's kids, right? There's a tribe, there's a community there. They're breaking bread. They're not just buying and selling things. But by and large, people aren't going to want to own these large items because they're going to want to move. They're going to want to be flexible. They're going to want to pay for experiences. Spirituality is about to go through a crazy transformation. It is going to shoot through the moon. And I think there are going to be transformations in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years that are going to blow your socks off, that are going to make the axial age look like child's play because of the access to information and the access to people that we have now. Silk Road, Schmilk Road. This is way different, way bigger. This is going to be huge. And that's what people are going to buy. And they're going to be happy with not owning some grand house. They're going to be happy with not owning some luxury car because they just buy it in the ether. They can just buy it in the digital realm. They can ride it in GTA if they want. But it's really just renting for them because they hop out and they don't own it. They don't have to get it maintenance, right? In GTA, you don't have to get it maintenance. It just maintains itself. It's part of the game. It's part of the infrastructure. That's what people want. And they're going to be perfectly happy with this. And I think it's great, honestly, because it will shift our focus from materialism to community. It will get us out of this individualism that makes us so anally focused on collecting infinity stones to flex in front of people we don't like, people that don't like us, people we don't care to interact with or form connections with. Instead, now we can focus on buying things that give us joy, that make us feel good, that make us feel like we're in tune with a higher power, something that's greater than ourselves, something that etches in the fabric of humanity, in the fabric of history. It leaves a mark on the timeline itself. That's where it's going. Now, of course, the second reason why this is occurring is because people recognize that they can't afford it, right? They can't afford a car. They can't afford a house. They can't afford all of these luxury items. They can't afford all these knickknacks, just buying BS to fill their houses up with because they don't have a house to begin with. So that's part of it too. But it's interesting how people think this is such a bad thing, that you will own nothing and be happy. They think it's such a terrible idea. But in my experience, the people that think it's a terrible idea are either those who have been indoctrinated by the old materialist beliefs of American consumerism, by the propagandists, Bernays at the head of it. Or it's the older generation, it's the Xers, it's the boomers. They think this is crazy. Why don't they want to own things? Why do we want to own things? Why do you want to own things? It's not actually going to be bad. Now, of course, if it leads to a situation where dire poverty is the situation for 90+% of people, I think you can impoverish 9 out of 10 people and still have a functioning society. Is it a well-functioning society? Probably not. I think you can still maintain that. History backs me up on that. I mean, 50% of the slaves, or rather 50% of the population in Rome, ancient Greece, slaves. And then 30, 40% of people really didn't have much to their name either. So they were essentially slaves too. Throw the serfs in there. I think you can get away with that. But As long as we don't go into that situation, I think owning nothing will make people happy. And in fact, if you want to go down that rabbit hole of people being in dire poverty, I think they'll still be happier than they are now, because they'll have no other choice but to reconnect with the soul that they've lost through this materialist, individualist expansion. They will be forced to reconnect with the God that has been dead. They'll have to save God from the underworld. They'll have to pull him out, because what else will they have but to reconnect with the spirit, to reconnect with the soul, to reconnect with their unconscious, the shadow, to do the spiritual work, the hard, heavy burden, some work that is required to really transcend this human flesh. I think people will be happier regardless, whether we get a utopia, a dystopia, or something in between. I think it's going to be a great thing that people own nothing or own very little and be happy, because what is the point of owning things unless you know exactly where it came from, who made it, and you have a connection with them? What is the point? There's no point outside of feeding the ego, which is perfectly fine if you want to do, but societally very destructive, hard to maintain at scale, at least hard to maintain morals, ethics, stuff like that at scale, whenever that's your bedrock. So watch out for this, and comment what your thoughts on this are, what you've seen in your day-to-day life, because I see it every single day. People want to take Ubers, take Lyfts. They want to rent apartments. They want to move cities every 2-3 years. They want to travel to different countries. They want to learn about different cultures and creeds and ideologies. They want to interact with different people. They want to form their own tribes amongst their own. They want to learn new skills, and they want to engage in work that is fulfilling to them. And they want to have plenty of leisure time to explore themselves more. And they will sacrifice owning things. They will sacrifice paychecks. They will sacrifice money and owning things in order to do all this. And I think it's going to be fantastic, so long as we do not let the 1% and the 0.1% absolutely decimate us and control us, which is a distinct possibility. But with that, I say thank you for watching. Again, comment your thoughts and observations on this down below, and I will see you in the next one. Much love, peace. This is Da Vinci. Have a blessed evening.